worth checking that we actually heard what Jesus said. Right? That Jesus said we should rejoice and leap for joy if we're poor, hungry, weeping, hated, excluded, and insulted. And worse, maybe, that if we happen to be rich, filled, laughing, or well-received in polite company, that we're looking for some sort of condemnation. I mean, I think the hardest thing for the Beatitudes is to actually hear them. And sometimes we hear them and then immediately, like we're protecting ourselves with some reflection that somebody other than Jesus, I might say, offered. Like money isn't really the problem, it's our hearts. And so as long as we're not attached to stuff, it's okay to have stuff. That might be true, but it's not what Jesus said. Right? Here Jesus said, blessed are you if you're poor. He didn't say, blessed are you if you're not really attached to your stuff and you have millions of dollars in the bank, but you don't like. And these are really rough for us, I think, because every single one of us is rich by any reasonable standard. By the world standards, I'm pretty sure every person in this room is in the top 1 or 2% of world earners. And by historic standards, every single one of us is better off than the richest of kings from 200 years ago. Like we're doing quite well, and we have big plasma TVs, right? We're okay. So what does this mean? I mean, so we can, like, once we hear it, I can't even be challenged by it unless I can figure out what is it trying to tell me I'm supposed to do. But there's something powerful here, and I found that if we read all of Jesus' teachings in light of his core teaching, which is that we have to love God and love each other, and that our truest blessings come in love. Bishop Barron said, but he was actually quoting or taking from St. Thomas Aquinas. So you can quote either one, Bishop Barron or St. Thomas Aquinas, whichever you're more familiar with. He said that in the Beatitudes, Jesus teaches us to love what he loved as he hung on the cross, and to despise what he despised as he hung on the cross. And if we want to talk about love as kind of our core commandment, our core reality, then this is the content of love. I sometimes find myself at funerals with people who are devastated. Maybe the circumstances were particularly hard, or maybe they weren't. But in this loss, they're devastated. And I can't help but think how lucky they are to have the kind of love in their lives that makes them devastated to lose this person. There are plenty of people who die and nobody's devastated, right? And there are plenty of people who are selfish enough that people that should matter, that could be important in their lives, die or leave. And it's like, well, whatever. I'm going out tonight. And we do some of that laughing and that Jesus, and filling, that Jesus says later, it's going to catch up with you. It's not going to work out. How awesome to not be addicted to stuff. And we can all pretend we're not. But if we have stuff, we probably are kind of addicted. And we call it lots of things. We'll call it hobbies. But it started when we were like 5. And we got our new school supplies, right? They were all shiny and wonderful and pretty, and we smelled so good. And that good feeling, it lasted. Like the crayons are broken after, 2 days? 3 days? but we had the feeling, right? And so next time we're in the store, we're like, mommy, I need this. And to overcome that addiction that works its way through life, and we get much more sophisticated about it as we get older. But it's not that it's necessarily gone away. And to find something more valuable, to find love that's worth more in my heart, in my life, than the stupid stuff that ends up in my garage, and then I decide to clean out my garage, so I've got to go rent a storage unit, and now I'm paying on a storage unit, so all this stuff that I don't even remember what it is in some boxes, because I had to buy it, because I needed it. Like, imagine how blessed our hearts would be to want something more, to love something more, to put our resources somewhere that build love better than all that stuff that clutters our homes and our garages and our storage units. I think this also connects, and this helped me a lot this week, trying to, because this is the hard Beatitudes, right? Matthew writes about them, and they're a little bit more like, he softened them down a little bit. But Luke's just like, no, this is it. These are these 4 things. So I struggled with this some as I went through the week, and I was thinking, if you looked at this through a small child's eyes, this actually makes sense, right? That a small child isn't addicted to stuff yet. They don't really care. You buy them something nice and they play in the box, right? But it's more than that. A small child is completely dependent on us and doesn't have the strength yet, the ability yet, to resolve their problems, to make their life work, to fix their emotions. And there's this special place there where love is incredibly powerful, right? We don't love babies, children, small children, because they're cute and adorable and sweet and kind. For the most part, they're not. Like, I hate to be the truth sayer here, but they smell bad. They're mean to each other. They're completely selfish, right? Like, nobody without at least 10 or 11 years on them and some training has gotten to be caring and giving and empathetic and compassionate. They're selfish. They're only worried about themselves. And if they do something nice for you, it's because they need you to do something for them, right? That's not what's special about children. What's special about children is that they are completely unable to resolve their own issues. And we find that in these Beatitudes. When we're poor, when we're mourning, when we're hungry, when we're rejected, God can reach out to us and love us and help us. And when we start to get convinced that we've got it all put together, that we've got our set of friends and they're going to stand by us, that we've got plenty of stuff and it's our security blanket, that we've got our own ways to get pleasure and enjoyment in life, sometimes we don't have enough room left for God to love us. And we don't have enough room left to love where love matters most. And we start to think of people who are poor, not like God does, like we do our babies, as someone in need of care and compassion and concern. We start to think of them as people who didn't do all the things that they should have done to get their life in order. And we lose out on love. We lose out on receiving love because we start to think that we're full and loved and rich and laughing. but without love. Why? How? And so for us to maybe put on different glasses to see life. These aren't just some complementary teachings that we can add to the Ten Commandments. That's not how Jesus' teaching works. Jesus is inviting us to think about life from a completely different perspective. And maybe that perspective is the perspective of love. The kind that would make us leap and dance for joy to be nailed to a cross with the opportunity to bring salvation to our brothers and sisters. That would make us, because if you give away all your stuff, if you find something really valuable and you give all your stuff away, you will not be rich. You will be poor. There are plenty of preachers who say God will give you back 10 times. If you give away your money to something that matters, you're not going to have it anymore. You're going to be poor. And if you give enough away that you actually have to think about what you're buying at the store or where you can afford to live, that's really starting to feel poor. But imagine if you saw your life fulfilled in the work and the generosity that you lived and done. That's the shift. It's not a little, this isn't salt and pepper to put on the food. This is the food. This is the meaning of love. This is what Jesus loved as he came on the cross. And it's what he's inviting his followers to love and to value as we live our lives.